Hey everybody, Matt here from the iWall with an update for you on the tropics for Monday. It's September 18th. I took a couple days to just kind of recoup with Hurricane Lee. Nice to get a little bit of a break. One thing I tell people during hurricane season, this really holds true for forecasters as well as people that live on the coast, you really got to pace yourself through hurricane season. It's a marathon. I was looking back at Lee yesterday. We had been talking about that for 3 weeks in the lead up to the storm. So it was a long period of time to be talking about one storm. These are experiences that I've definitely had quite a few of in the last few years. Hurricane Harvey being a prime example, pretty much lost almost a month of my life to that storm, from recognizing that something could happen to recognizing that something would happen to it happening to the aftermath of it happening. So it's a long period of time to go through some of these storms. So I encourage folks that live on the coast to really pace themselves through hurricane season. The good news is we've got nothing of note for now. Things are pretty quiet and will stay that way, at least for land masses, as we go through the next couple of days. The main story right now in the tropics is Nigel. You can see up here on the satellite from this morning. Nigel will pass comfortably to the east of Bermuda as it moves its way out to sea. Hurricane Margot, Tropical Storm Margot, dissipated into a remnant low yesterday. So that's off the board now. So all we've got on the big board is Nigel. And Nigel is expected to become a major hurricane as it curves out to sea. Again, no threat to land, so good news there. What we're going to watch is on the right side of this image here, and that is a tropical wave that will emerge off Africa over the next couple of days and may eventually become something that we have to keep an eye on as we go into the weekend and next week. Let's talk more about that here. So if you look at this map, what this is showing you is the European model, European ensemble model, and it's showing you sea level pressure from all the different ensemble members. Again, ensembles, you take one model, you run it 30, 50 different times in the Euros case, and you get a whole bunch of different outcomes, possibilities from the model going out in time. And what it gives you is a little bit more of a realistic spread, a realistic consideration that you could look at, kind of goalposts, at least to have in the meantime as a forecaster. So we look at this and we see that as we go to next week, we have this tropical wave that has emerged off Africa and is likely to become a tropical depression, if not a tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane by the time we get to next week. This would probably take on the name of Ophelia. And as it moves to the west, it will continue. You can see the Caribbean islands right here, the Lesser Antilles. What we're going to watch is the intensity of this. A stronger storm, a storm that comes out of the gate and develops quickly in the Atlantic, not going to be a concern for land probably. It will start to turn to the north and sort of go the way of Lee or Nigel and probably turn out to sea. I don't think it would go as far west as Lee and probably not threaten Atlantic Canada, but still, obviously we're a long way away from that. We'll keep an eye on it. So quicker developing storm moves out to sea more quickly. A storm that's a little bit more sluggish to develop would continue more to the west. It has a little bit more of an opportunity to get closer to the islands before possibly turning to the north. By the time it gets there, obviously we're a week plus away. I couldn't tell you exactly what's going to happen there, but all we know is in general, a storm that's slower to develop would continue off to the west and maybe get a little closer to the islands, more close than would be comfortable by the time we get to the early and middle parts of next week. What form it would be at that point is kind of an open question. If it's going to struggle up to that point, there's a chance it could continue to struggle and get to the islands as really nothing but a tropical wave, or it could be a depression or storm or a hurricane. Who's to say at this point? But the general thinking would be that it would not necessarily be a significant storm when it gets to the islands if it continues weakly across the Atlantic, or it could develop, sort of at the last minute here and just go to the north of the islands and you get fringe impacts, sort of like what you saw with Hurricane Lee in places like Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and the northern parts of the Lesser Antilles. Long way to go on this one. We'll keep an eye on it. One other area that we're going to be watching over the next several days would be off the southeast coast in Florida. We expect an upper low to kind of dive into the southeast as we go through the weekend, and that will gradually develop what we call a surface low that could take on tropical or subtropical characteristics, which means it could develop into something by the time we get to next week. I do not think the ceiling on that system is particularly high, so not a significant concern, but maybe something to talk about and maybe something that does have a chance to take on the name. The next two names, like we said, Ophelia would be next, and then Philippe, I believe it's pronounced Philip, would be next going into next week. But we'll see how things go over the next couple days. We'll keep you posted, but again, really nothing for any landmass people living on land to worry about over the next several days. So rest easy. It is the peak of hurricane season. Like we said, pace yourselves. Still got a little bit of a ways to go. We're not done yet, but we'll keep tabs on it and keep you posted. Take care.